Hey, what's going on YouTube? My name is Arden Studios and welcome back to another YouTube video. So guys, in today's YouTube video, I'm going to be giving you guys tips and tricks on how to make your own layouts in my store. Now, I'm not a professional layout maker, so obviously I'm not going to be able to teach you ways to make like the best layouts in the game, but I do know some factors you should be taking into account and thinking about when trying to make a layout. With that being said, thank you guys so much for the support on the last video. We got 800 views as of right now, which is amazing. Thank you guys so much for 550 subscribers, and keep it up. I'm really happy with how my store is doing, and hopefully we can hit 600 subscribers, and then eventually 1,000 subscribers at some point. With that being said, let's get straight into the video. But one last thing before the video starts, I do want to say that I would definitely remember that this isn't a layout video. I'm not gonna be teaching or showing you guys a brand new layout. I did that in the last video, but this video is mainly gonna be teaching you things that you should know if you ever try to make your own layout. Okay, now let's actually start the video. Okay guys, so when it comes to layout making, the first tip I'm going to give you guys is take into account how much your customers have to walk. The more your customers have to walk, the longer it takes for them to buy items, and therefore basically the more time it results in your customers taking to buy stuff, making it so that you aren't able to get as much cash. Now, I have NPCs turned off, but as you guys can see, they're still buying items. By the way, I did upgrade this entire layout to modern aquariums, and it's making me about 60 to 70 million an hour, so it's definitely a huge boost for my previous layouts. It's making me roughly a million a minute, and sometimes even more than that. So, yeah. Now, again, customer walk speed is the first thing you want to take into account. Make sure to face all your self-checkouts so your customers do the least amount of walking. An example would be if you start placing your self-checkouts so that they're facing, let's say, this way where my avatar is facing, your customers will do extra walking to go all the way around to them, and that'll actually be less time efficient than if you were to, per se, make them face towards the door. You also want to make sure that everything is kind of compact and close to the front door, but if you're using a multi-floor layout, since those are becoming a lot more meta, that might not apply as much. But the best ways you want to make your customers walk the least is by making your layout pretty close to the door. If you are using a multi-floor layout, you might want to place more registers around here so that customers that do check out can use them, and customers that are going here to get to the next floor anyway, their AI might use these instead. Honestly, optimizing customer walk speed is probably the most important thing when it comes to layouts, as the more customers you're getting using your layout at a time, the easier it becomes. The second tip that you're going to take into account is going to want to be basically what capacity items are in your layout and how much they're being used. I wouldn't diversify when it comes to capacity items if you're making a layout. The thing about diversifying with capacity items is that if you have like a computer shelf while you have a bunch of modern aquariums, all that's going to do is make cheaper products get brought into your store. Now, one thing I will say though, you want to figure out a ratio of how many capacity items you have to customers, because if you have too many capacity items, that might cause a lot of extra unnecessary walking, whilst if you have too little capacity items, that might reduce the room for more customers to come in and buy them. So being able to figure out around how many capacity items you want placed down in your store is a really important ratio in terms of how much money you're going to be making. The next tip I'm going to go over is figure out how cost efficient your layout is. Now, the thing about a lot of layouts is that if you have a layout that is genuinely speaking roughly using a lot more registers than you would expect, like a layout that's using hundreds of self-checkouts or like 30 to 40 capacity items, you might want to start considering how cost efficient it is. Is it a layout that's, like for example, there are currently layouts that are better than my layout, but the reason I'm still sticking with this layout is because of the fact that it doesn't cost me that much to upgrade the current items. Other layouts would be a lot better to use in some scenarios, but I can't use them to make the money to make the layouts in the first place. If my layout uses like 200, for example, if it uses 200 or self-checkouts, I don't have the 600 million to get like 200 expensive registers. So with that being said, it is really important for you guys to take into account how cost efficient your layout is, how much does it cost to basically upgrade and build this layout, because in some cases it's probably going to be better to have 30 to 40 royal registers that you have a few customers using quickly than have 300 cheap checkouts. Now, the reason that things are so important like this is it actually does lead into what's kind of my tip, half tip, and that's just because of all of this, you're gonna want to make sure that when you're trying to figure out how many self-checkouts you should have and all that, try to take into account, is it gonna be better to upgrade an item or have more of it? Being able to balance out whether it's better to upgrade an item or have more of it is gonna be another really important thing to take into account when layout building. With that being said, that's going to be it for today's video, guys. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I appreciate all the support on the videos recently. Once again, if you haven't already, make sure to consider subscribing. It really helps out the channel, and thank you guys so much for the support recently. That's it for today's video, and peace.